So you guys remember that the Israelis made this ridiculous claim on October 7th that there was mass rape. And of course, we didn't believe them because there's no evidence. I'm still waiting to this day for one shred of evidence. There's none. And ironically, I should point out there is a mountain of evidence of Israelis raping Palestinians, men, women, children. This is Israeli army, Israeli guards, and the Israeli army even rape the women in the army. There's tons and tons of cases like this. Just look it up yourselves. If you don't want to go watch the videos I did, the best part is I'm using Israeli sources to prove it. So it's not even like you have to go look that far. But in any case, I want to show you something because the central claim that this came from was a New York Times story or stories, I should add, and they were written by the same three people. Okay, and I'm going to expose some things to you that many have covered, Grayzone and Intifada and Intercepting, and others and Squirrel. And so, the thing is that what I have said from the very beginning is that, look, I don't need to know that the people at the New York Times are corrupt. I know they're corrupt. Yeah. As long as there's no evidence, I'm not buying it because the Israelis lie all the time. Okay, so what I'm about to show you is not necessary to know that they lied. We know that they fucking lied because there's no proof. So that, just to be clear. And another thing you have to understand is that Hamas planned this very carefully with exceptional operational security. The fact that you could organize something like this without any leaks, an airtight ship, and then execute this as from a military point of view, from a strategic point of view, it is exceptional. And so just ask yourselves, these are highly disciplined, highly trained, exceptional fighters. Do you really think that they did all this just so they could supposedly rape a bunch of Israelis? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't buy this. This is ridiculous. You have to also remember that these are not just any fighters. I mean, it's Hamas, they are, if you look at Hezbollah, it's the same thing. They are guided by Islamic principles. So, they have a very strict code of rules for war. And I should remind you that 1,000 years before there was any Geneva Convention or Hague Convention, the Arabs are the ones who came up with these rules that, you shouldn't execute the women and children or execute prisoners of war. You should treat them fairly. The Arabs came up with this. They came up with these things. They actually employed these things in war 1,000 years before Europeans even thought to write these things down. So you should remember that. In any case, let me proceed to show you what's going on. So you have these three people at the New York Times who wrote a lot of these stories. Okay, Adam Sella, Anat Schwartz, and Jeffrey Gettelman. Okay. Now, these people are all Zionists and Jewish, okay? What makes this even more scandalous is that Anat Schwartz is from the Israeli army, okay? So she was in Israeli army intelligence, and she brought in this guy, Adam Sella, who is her nephew by marriage. So basically, this woman, Anat Schwartz, she got married, and the person she married has a nephew called Adam Sella. And so she brought on her nephew by marriage to write these stories about mass rape, in Gaza, or rather in these kibbutz. And these people, first of all, none of them have any experience covering this issue at all, okay? But not only that, this Adam Sella is a food reviewer, has written articles about food, cooking, like actual food. And I just want you to ask yourselves, like, one of them is an official propagandist for the Israelis. Her nephew is a food reviewer. And these are the people that are the sources for the New York Times, the supposed paper of record. And they're bullshit rape stories. I mean, it's so incredible how difficult it is for them, how hard they try to reach and make things up. Whereas if you look at how Israelis rape Palestinians, there are so many stories. We'll be here all night. And it's not just Palestinians that they've raped and assaulted. It's also, even among their own ranks, you got Israeli women being raped by, or sexually assaulted by the Israeli men in the army. That's how rampant it is. you know? And I feel that before I continue, it's a good moment to show you this clip from CNN. Listen.
You mentioned sexual violence. I was part of the human rights vetting process for arms going to Israel, and a charity called Defense of Children International Palestine drew our attention at the State Department to the sexual assault, actually the rape, of a 13-year-old boy that occurred in an Israeli prison in the Mosque in Jerusalem. We examined these allegations. We believed they were credible. We put them to the government of Israel. And you know what happened the next day? The IDF went into the DCIP offices and removed all their computers and declared them a terrorist entity. I think it is vital that atrocities not happen to anyone, not sexual violations, not any kind of gross violation of human rights. You mentioned sexual.
So again, do you understand what he said? They found a credible case of children being raped by Israelis. They put these accusations to the Israeli government, and then the Israeli government responded by declaring them a terrorist organization and confiscating their computers. So much for Israeli democracy and accountability. I swear to God, every single thing, every single one, down to the tiniest detail, every single accusation that Israelis make about Palestinians is not just made up. It's real, but it's something that Israel has done to the Palestinians. And it's backed up by proof, by evidence. That's the difference, is that you can fucking prove this. The Israelis can't prove a fucking thing. You have to believe them. I'm supposed to believe a private screening that you gave to a bunch of corporate journalists. Guess what? I'm fucking not believing it, because you have a track record of lying more than anyone on the fucking planet. I will do everything except fucking believe you until you show me evidence. 4 months later, no evidence. And guess what? These people have been ratted out. They've been exposed as a bunch of frauds. Someone who's reviewing Peanuts is now an expert in mass rape as a weapon of war. Jesus, what a colossal embarrassment. So now look at what happened. Now she has had to resign. This Schwartz, okay? She's had to resign. And I'll come back to her to her in a second. But just this guy, Jeffrey Gettleman, he had his own scandal about a month ago. This is end of January. Basically, what happened is that the New York Times, they went and interviewed a family who they claimed that the daughter had been raped, okay, and she was killed on October 7th. Now, when the family saw the headline that came out, I mean, they were stunned. They were stunned because they had never told the New York Times that their daughter had been raped. On the contrary, they had made it, a point to explain to them that this did not happen. She was just killed, but no one raped her. And the New York Times, this is, a flagrant violation of ethical, of journalism ethics. They just lied and printed that she was raped. And then the family complained about this, right? So here, this is the, this is the story here, right? So her name is Gal, and the family name is Abdush, okay? So the New York Times, and again, who wrote the story? Oh, look, it's the same three. Jeffrey Kettleman, Annette Schwartz, and Adam Seller, the same three Zionists. So they think of how disrespectful that is, that you go to interview a family about their deceased relative or member, and then you just make something up about them that just, it's this is not a misunderstanding. This is clearly on purpose, right? And then they say they made 150 interviews with alleged victims of families. Where are they? Where are they? If I were them, if I were in their shoes, the first fucking thing I do is publish every single one of the interviews, every single one, unredacted, for everyone to read. Oh no, you have to believe us. And what's incredible is that this woman, Annette, so sorry, I was going to tell you about Gettleman, right? And then go back to Schwartz. So this guy, Jeffrey Gettleman, about this family whose daughter they said was raped and when she wasn't. There was such a scandal inside the New York Times about a month ago that they ended up shelving a podcast episode that they were going to put out. So they had gone and done the interview with this family, with Abdush, and then published it. The family went nuts. And then there was supposed to be an episode, an audio recording that would come out. And it never came out because there was such a dispute inside the New York Times about the scandal, right? So that's number one, disgraced, absolutely disgraced. Now coming back to Anat Schwartz and her peanut reviewing nephew. Jesus, you can't make it. You really couldn't make it up. What happened is that she basically gave an interview to an Israeli station in December in Hebrew. And this is what I always tell you. Always listen to how Israelis speak in Hebrew. Ignore everything they say in English. Only listen to what they say in Hebrew. I swear to God, it will open your eyes. It's something really incredible because they feel that they can just be themselves a bit more when they speak in Hebrew. It's just straight up the most violent, racist shit you ever heard in your life. So she goes and gives this this interview, and she says that she started going around and calling up all these centers in Israel where women would typically report sexual violence, right? To find out, like, hey, has anyone contacted you? Did anyone come forward and say this and this happened? So here it is. Let me read this to you from it's translated by The Intercept, and it's an interview that Anat Schwartz did with the Israeli Army Radio Khan on December 31st, okay? So, first of all, she admits that the New York Times sanctioned this, okay? It's a very important point I'll get back to afterwards. She says down here that that in the podcast interview, Schwartz details her extensive efforts to get confirmation from Israeli hospitals, rape crisis centers, trauma recovery facilities, and sex assault hotlines in Israel, as well as her inability to get a single confirmation from any of them. She was told there had been no complaints made of sexual assaults, the Times spokesperson acknowledged after The Intercept brought the Channel 12 podcast episode to the paper's attention. So basically, the New York Times had printed these stories where Anat Schwartz is claiming that she had found all this evidence, and then The Intercept were like, well, hold on a second, what about this interview in Hebrew that she gave where she said she couldn't find a single fucking example? What about that? And then the New York Times are admitting that, yeah, that's true. And so, So Schwartz began her work on the violence of October 7th, where one would expect, by calling around to the designated Room 4 facilities in 11 Israeli hospitals that examine and treat potential victims of sexual violence, including rape. She says, first thing, I called them all and they told me no complaint of sexual assault was received. And then she said, I had a lot of interviews which didn't lead anywhere. I would go to all kinds of psychiatric hospitals, sit in front of the staff. All of them were fully committed to the mission and no one had met a victim of sexual assault. The next step was to call the manager of the sexual assault hotline in Israel South, which proved equally fruitless, meaning she couldn't find anyone who complained or reported it. The manager told her there were 0 reports of sexual violence. She described the call as a crazy in-depth conversation where she pressed for specific cases. She said, did anyone call you? Did you hear anything? How could it be that you didn't? And then she, so, you know, it's basically like she is going out with the, you know, with her mind made up already that she wants to find proof of sexual assault, and there just isn't any, and she's frustrated that there's not a single report in any of these psychiatric hospitals, rape recovery or trauma centers. Nothing. Not a single fucking case. Don't you find that incredible? I mean, it's like she's basically admitting out of guilt that, you know, she knows that there's no evidence, and so she just fucking made it up. And then listen, what it gets worse, right? So she started calling people in the kibbutz Be'eri and other kibbutzim that were targeted on October 7th in an effort to track down the story. These are these illegal Israeli settlements. There was nothing, she said. No one saw or heard anything. I mean, that's incredible. Now, she then reached the Unit 669 paramedic, who relayed to her the same story he had told other media outlets, which she says convinced her there was a systematic nature to the sexual violence. Okay? So again, this is a military medic, basically. And then she says, oh, okay, so it happened. One person saw it happen in the Be'eri settlement, so it can't just be one person. What? What does that even mean? She says, because it was 2 girls, it's sisters in the room. Something about it is systematic. Something about it feels to me that it's not random. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is how dare you? How dare you honestly like make this shit up? Something feels systematic. Systematic is like you have 600 fucking rape victims, not 2 girls in a room. That was a lie from an army medic. I swear to God, these Israelis have no shame. I swear to God, they are the biggest fucking liars on the face of this fucking planet. There is nothing they will not fucking lie about. Nothing. They'll tell you the fucking sky is purple. I mean, they're out of their minds. Schwartz said she then began a series of extensive conversations from who? Oh, Zaka. We all know Zaka, a private ultra-Orthodox rescue organization that has been documented to have mishandled evidence and spread multiple false stories about the events of October 7th, including the lies that Hamas beheaded babies and cut the fetus from a pregnant woman's body. The workers in Zaka are not trained forensic scientists, nor are they crime scene experts. A senior Zaka official said, when we go into a house, we use our imagination. Wow, you do you? You use your imagination. Well, welcome to never, never fucking land, yeah? The bodies were telling us what happened. That's what happened. Wow, just, you know, everybody who is working, you know, everybody works as a forensic scientist, please go home. We don't need you anymore. Zaka have got this. They know what they're doing. So, let me just summarize this for you in case you're unable to keep up, because it is a lot. Let me just spell this out very clearly. The woman writing these rape stories for the New York Times, her name is Annette Schwartz. She calls every single center in Israel, especially in the South, that deals with sexual violence and where people who are victims of sexual violence would report this, and she cannot find a single, not one example, one person who has been raped on October 7th. So then she goes and listens to a lie told by an army medic, which is then later debunked, and she says that because of this single event, that it must be systematic, that it's a mass rape. Then she goes to a group of fucking nut jobs who are, again, I mean, all Zionists are vile, but these are especially vile, if we can make that distinction. Who basically, the point is not how vile they are as Zionists. The point is they went around in these settlements and made things up on October 7th. They're liars. They're absolute liars. And they said these things about you, so beheaded babies and so on. So she goes to them, to the biggest fucking liars of all, and she quotes them. And it's not just her. I swear to God. If you open up, look, I'm going to do it in front of you, all right? I'm going to open up a BBC article about this. Every one of these outlets is quoting them, okay? Every one of them. Look, here's BBC, okay? 5th of December, what do we have here? There we go. Zaka. So all of these outlets in the West are quoting a bunch of nut jobs who are providing zero evidence. You know, I don't really care who's doing the reporting. If you have evidence and it's real, then it's real. What can I say? What can anyone argue? If it's real, it's real. There are no photos. It's just like we're supposed to blindly believe Israelis. No, Israelis are the last people on the planet that you should believe about anything. Even if you ask them the fucking time, don't believe them. They will lie to you. All right? Don't believe them about anything in the world. Not even the weather or the time. Nothing. So this is what's going on. Okay? This is what's going on. And then she brings on her fucking nephew, who is a food reviewer, to help her with these lies. And she conceals that. And then the New York Times, they end up firing her. Not because of this. This is what is beautiful. They don't fire her because she is a disgusting liar and she's trying to paint Hamas and the resistance, who are respectful warriors who don't touch women. They don't fire her for that. They fire her because she liked a few nasty tweets on Twitter. I mean, Jesus, if it was just about that, you know what? I'd rather she tells the truth and likes a few nasty fucking tweets than likes the nasty tweets and then lies to the whole world about mass rape. How about that? Do you guys agree with me? So this is supposedly, you know, it's supposedly the paper of record. The New York Times call themselves the paper of record. That they are the source, you know, of everything that happens in the world. Like if you're alive in 200 years, what's the paper you go and look out for the truth? You go to the New York Times. No, Jesus, no, don't do that. I please let this be a warning to future generations. I beg you, don't do that. But they market themselves as this, And the lies, the people they hire to do this job, I mean, it's the most sloppy shit I've ever seen. It is not just unbecoming, it is scandalous. Scandalous within scandalous of a scandal of a fucking a catastrophe that they have done this. I mean, really, just barbaric Banana Republic journalism. Barbaric. They have butchered the entire profession. They've just thrown it into a blender and thrown the blender into a bathtub. I mean, it's just horrific. How can you even call this reporting? It's just propaganda of the cheapest, shittiest sort. They don't even bother cooking up a cover story. Like, man, I swear to God, I could have done a better job for you. And good thing I'm not going to do that. But I could have cooked up a better story for you and covered it up for you better than this. It's so sloppy. But you know what's scary? This is what's scary, is that even though the truth's coming out now, it's too late. People are so dumb in the West, and I'm sorry, I have to say this even though I'm British, people are so dumb in the West, we will believe anything. This is how they get away with the propaganda. So, you know, it's like by the time all these Palestinians have been killed, it's like, oh, well, you know, too late, you know. Oh. What I find weird as well is that let's assume for a second, let's play devil's advocate, okay? Let's play devil's advocate. And literally, and let us say the Israelis are telling the truth. They're not telling the truth, but let's imagine they are. Okay, so what? So there's mass rape, and therefore you kill 30,000 people and starve 2 million people. What the fuck? What do these two things have to do with each other? How on earth do you justify the latter? How on earth do you say, oh, well, a bunch of mass rape deserves, you know, genocide? Are you out of your fucking minds? So, I mean, even if you buy this garbage, it doesn't justify what the Israelis are doing. And you shouldn't buy the garbage because the Israelis, through all of their behavior, 75 years ago, 3 months ago, today is garbage behavior and is full of lies, right? So I mean, this is especially why you should scrutinize them. Absolutely scrutinize them more than anyone because of their track record of lying. I mean, this is really just scandalous. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then she also starts quoting some American architect who serves in a rabbinical unit of the Israeli Defense Forces. Why don't you quote, I don't know, a fucking, what's his name, the angry chef? Gordon Ramsay. Why don't you get Gordon Ramsay as well? Why don't you start getting Jamie Oliver as well? You know, since you just like quoting random people. An architect? Why don't a plumber? Why don't you get someone who flips burgers as well and quote them as a source? I don't know, since, you know, we're just throwing anyone in there like a salad, right? Why not? Why don't you quote a giraffe as well as a source of mass rape and systemic sexual violence? I don't know. Do you want to use my table? You can quote my table. I mean, what is this crap? Unbelievable. So this Mendez, this architect, who I don't know what she has anything, you know, what she has to do with anything. She also lied and was caught lying. She said a baby was cut out of a pregnant woman and beheaded, and then the mother was beheaded. Jesus Christ. I mean, do you have proof? Because, you know, when you're saying shit like this, you should really back this up. You can't make these things up and just say them. Guess what? No pregnant woman died that day, according to the official Israeli list. The official Israeli list of those killed in the attacks. What's so incredible to me is that these are not just lies. They're things Israelis have done to Palestinians. You heard that correctly. You heard that correctly. The Israelis, during the Deir Yassin massacre in 1948, and it's not, don't take my word for it. I'm going to show you the United Kingdom's letter. This is at the United Nations. What they wrote about the massacre, the week that it happened. This is the United Kingdom at the UN in 1948. Sorry, I think it was 46. Excuse me. Let me pull up the thing. I did it in my video, the video that was called "Every Israeli Accusation is a Confession." I put it in there. Okay, during the Deir Yassin massacre. Just look at this. No, it was 48. I don't know why I mixed myself up. Anyway, here it is. Okay, here's the I keep thinking every time it's UK and Palestine, I think of the King David Hotel. here you go. This is the document, okay, dated 20th of April, and it's communication from the UK delegation concerning Jewish attack on the Arab village of Deir Yassin. Okay, look at the things that they did here. Look at this. So the deaths of 250 Arab men, women, and children, which took place during this attack in circumstances of great savagery. Women and children were stripped, lined up, photographed, and then slaughtered by automatic firing, and survivors have told of even more incredible brutalities. Those who were taken prisoner were treated with degrading brutality. And then, of course, they talk about the Haganah, basically admitting, that it gave covering fire. It helped out the other groups. The Haganah is one of the terrorist groups that became the IDF, and there are other ones like Irgun and Stern Gang, right? But they all work together. That's what this document is, one of the sources that proves that, right? And so, this is really, really horrific. Basically, they raped the women. One man, I will show you the video in a second. He saw how the Palestinians, there was a Palestinian man and his child, and the Israelis threw both the baby and the father into the oven. You know what? I'm just going to pull out my own video because it's literally, I put everything in there already. I already condensed them, so there's no point going through it twice. Give me 1 second. There you go. This one. Okay? So I'm going to put it up on the screen. Yeah, you also got some quotes from France 24, from the French agency. So you can see these sources are they're not Palestinian sources, right? So here you see him talking about rape. This is one Israeli soldier laughing about raping Palestinian girls, a 16-year-old girl.
אחד אנס שם איזה ילדה בת 16, משהו כזה. אתה מבין? אבל זה מכוער מאוד, היה לנו בחור אחד, הוא נפטר, הוא היה פרא אדם, הוא לקח פשוט מאוד, ורצח אותם בתוך המכלאות.
Yeah, and then also the rape, see in the IDF, the rape against Palestinian children, against Israelis themselves. Here, this is also from Sabra and Shatila. This is a massacre that was committed against Palestinians in 1982 in Lebanon, in the refugee camp. Look what the Israelis did. Out of her stomach, did to Palestinians at the Sabra and Shatila massacre in Lebanon in 1982. One eyewitness saw a pregnant woman who had her baby ripped out of her stomach. They cut her in two. Another woman, she was also pregnant. They ripped the baby from her stomach as well. Doesn't that sound like what the Israelis are saying Hamas did on October 7th? The difference is that they're lying, the Israelis. This didn't happen on October 7th. But the Israelis did it to Palestinians in the past, in the Sabra and Shatila massacre, and also similar things in the Deir Yassin massacre, where they were stripping women and raping them. I mean, it's so fucked up, you know? And I'll also remind you that the Turks, the Ottoman Turks, they also did this thing with like cutting open pregnant women and butchering the fetus. They did that during the Armenian genocide in 1915. So you see, Germany, again, always backing the winners, Another great contribution to humanity from Germany. They equipped the Ottoman Turks with the Mauser Kar 98 rifles and gave them tons of gear that was used in that genocide. Here's the video of this man. Just listen to what he's saying.
في الفرن والنسوان قعدات على الأرض وكل واحدة قاعدة وحاطة إيديها على راسها هيك وبقولوا للفران ارمي ابنك بالفرن ارمي ابنك بالفرن اسمه حامد قال له أنا ما برمي ابني قال له شوي هم ضربوا الحاج حامد على راسه ومسكوا الولد رموه بالفرن أنا شفت هالمن شفت هالمنظر ما تمش فيها حيل من مرة يعني بعدين مسكوا الأب حطوه وراه قالوا له الحق ابنك.
It's incredible. The more you learn about this massacre, the more you understand. So you see how every single one of the claims, the rape, the parading the women around, stripping women and parading them around, killing pregnant women, ripping the baby out, throwing the babies into ovens. Every single fucking one of these things is something Israelis have done to Palestinians and is documented and proven. And, and we're supposed to believe that Hamas, who are, again, I'm not Muslim, but I'm telling you, my job's to report, and I would be lying to you if I were telling you otherwise. These are highly disciplined, concentrated, serious fighters, and they're guided by their religion. They don't have time for this shit, for this insane berserker war crimes. On the contrary, they are hitting military targets to this day, as I'm speaking to you. When you go online, all you find every single day, Hamas posting videos of themselves hitting military targets, a tank, a bulldozer, troops, a convoy, an APC. What do the Israelis hit? Civilians, a hospital, a refugee camp, an infirmary, an ambulance, a school. Do you see the difference? It's literally in front of you. I don't care what the Israelis claim. Just look at the evidence in front of your eyes. And the same thing with Hezbollah. They hit the Israeli outposts. They don't target civilians. And as a matter of fact, what's ironic is that when we talk about Israelis, they don't have civilians. Every single woman and man in Israel has to go join the army. You can't be in the army and be a civilian at the same time. You stay in the army from 18 until 40 years old as a reservist. You can be called up any moment. So you can't be a civilian and also in the military at the same time. This is nonsense. In any case, I'm showing you these things because you have to know them. It's not enough to say the Israelis lied about the mass rape hoax. No. I don't care about the fact they lied. They're projecting what they did. Do you understand? This is so important. There's a big difference when you say, well, this guy's a bank robber. But when I'm a bank robber and I'm accusing them of robbing banks. This is very, very big. It's much worse. And it goes back to the root cause of the problem is that the Israelis stole this land. They stole it in the most disgusting, violent, evil fashion imaginable. And then they have the fucking nerve to accuse the Palestinians, the victims of their violent shit, of doing the same things. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, this level of evil, it's just unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it in history. Even the fucking Nazis didn't go and pretend to be victims, when they were massacring people. They just massacred people like assholes, but they didn't pretend to be victims on top of it. The Israelis are truly the first people in history to commit a genocide on live television and play the fucking victim at the same time. It's truly unbelievable and bewildering. And then people just they're okay with this. Yo, no. This is, I've seen many people say this before, and I'm going to say it to you. Sometimes people wonder, well, if I were alive in World War II, how would I have behaved? Would I have resisted? Would I have had the courage to stand up? Would I have come, when it came down to it, when push came to shove, would I have actually done the right thing? This is your answer right now. Your behavior right now is the answer to this question. The world is at a juncture here, at a crossroads, at a moment of great peril, especially for the Palestinians, mortal peril. And we have the choice to do something about it or do nothing about it. And Judgment Day, there's going to come a day of judgment. I don't know what form that will take. I have no clue. But, what goes around comes around. The people who do nothing, who just stand idly by, man, you're going to be shamed right now. I know people want to say, well, history is going to look down on you. No. I'm looking down on you right now. I'm not waiting for fucking history. What the British government are doing is fucking disgusting and scandalous. And especially after, put the Palestinians aside for a second. Just think of your own self-interest. Like, if you're a selfish person, you think, well, what about the UK? You should fucking hate the Israelis. The Israelis, they are enemies of the UK. They censor free speech. They take our fucking money. They've performed what is state capture. They have attacked British soldiers and citizens and politicians. Why the fuck would you like them? Not to mention that you should have humanity and compassion for the Palestinians first and foremost. But I'm just trying to argue, every point of view. The same thing goes for the Americans. If you look at what the Israelis are, what do you get? What do you get from supporting Israel? You're censored at home. You have no, you have less free speech or no free speech. Honestly, if you look at it objectively. You give them billions of dollars, and then your image is worsened around the world. People look down on the United States for supporting Israel. What the fuck do you get from supporting Israel? Literally zero. As a matter of fact, you get screwed by supporting Israel. So, whatever way you look at it, is scandalous. And these people that call themselves reporters that are, again, that are poisoning a US paper. This is the New York Times we're talking about. We come back again to, you know, what is the West getting out of supporting the Israelis? I don't know, because this is damaging not just the lives and the well-being of Palestinians, but it's damaging also the infrastructure, the economy, the image of Britain and the United States. And even these papers, which are supposed to do really good journalism and hold the state to account, are abdicating their duties. They're not fulfilling their duties. We need to have a fourth pillar in democracy, if you really believe in democracy, that holds the government to account. You can't have that when the New York Times is busy pushing Israeli propaganda. Do you understand? So it's like it's a poison pill to support Israel. We get nothing from supporting Israel. We lose by supporting Israel. And the Palestinians lose more than anyone. They lose their lives. Let me show you also just one last thing here with the New York Times, how they sanction the story, which makes this even more scandalous, because she says here that the New York Times, they are the ones who basically pushed them to do this. She said that the New York Times said, let's do an investigation into sexual violence. It was more of a case of them having to convince me. And then the host cuts her off and says, it was a proposal of the New York Times, the entire thing. And she says, unequivocally, obviously, of course. The paper stood behind us 200% and gave us the time, the investment, the resources to go in depth. With this investigation as much as needed. And you know, to me, this is enormous malpractice, because we cannot allow the New York Times, after the damage that they have wrought, to simply, you know, place the blame on the shoulders of some fucking Zionist bitch from the Air Force. No. She is admitting that this came from the top. And they're only firing her now on the basis of her tweets. It's really because she got caught. But they're trying to make it about the tweets, because if the New York Times say, well, we're firing her because we lied about all this mass rape, that looks a lot worse than saying we have to fire her because she liked very bad tweets. You understand? But they've been caught. And I want to show you some of the tweets, by the way. She liked some things like, well, you know, typical Zionist stuff. You know, let's turn Gaza into a wasteland. Let's kill all the Palestinians. Something like that. Yeah, hold on. Where is it? Yeah, so she liked a tweet that said Israel should turn the Gaza Strip into a slaughterhouse, violate any norm on the way to victory. Those in front of us are human animals who don't hesitate to violate minimal rules. Yes, we're just a bunch of goyim, you know. You should remember this word. This is what Israelis use to describe non-Jews. It's a goyim. You know, it's like a non-believer, an infidel, right? A human animal. That's what it translates to. In any case, you know, totally not racist and supremacist at all. You know, of course not, right? It's the Palestinians who are racist. You and I are racist, not these people who call Palestinians human fucking animals and then massacre them. Yeah. Oh no. It's not the Israelis, of course not. They would never do anything. You know what this reminds me of, by the way? Another Israeli bitch at the New York Times who lied about weapons of mass destruction. I couldn't help but think of this propagandist Judith Miller, this piece of shit who lied about basically, you know, the propaganda for Iraq. You have to understand, and I remember this as a boy. It didn't begin in 2003. They had to like slowly build this up from 2001 with the anthrax attacks. What they said is that basically, these letters, again, letters. Who invented these things? Zionists invented the letter bombs and started using them in such a mass capacity. So the irony of them choosing this specific method is so funny. Someone was mailing letter bombs to Congress filled with anthrax. And then she, along with other people in mainstream media, were saying, well, you know, the lab results say that there's, what is that thing? It was with a B, bubon or something like that? I'm not thinking of bubonic plague, but there was a specific chemical element that was used in there that they were saying, well, this proves it was Saddam Hussein. You know, it proves without a doubt that Saddam Hussein is the one manufacturing this, and and that it has to be him. In any case, so this is how they started putting this into Americans' minds. You have to keep in mind that was October 2001. It's just after 9/11. So they started creating this link in people's minds after 9/11 had just happened, that that 9/11 has something to do with Saddam Hussein. Iraq, Al Qaeda have something to do with Iraq. They have literally nothing to do with Iraq. They actually fucking hate each other. But of course, nuanced thinking and and reality don't matter in the New York Times. So in any case, they start pushing this stuff, and then she is one of the people that starts pushing this weapons of mass destruction thing the most. All these things that came out in the New York Times about Saddam Hussein has these mobile trucks, all sorts of propaganda, all of this, the lead up to the Iraq War. She is one of the people that manufactured this consent. And guess what? Her father is a Russian Jew, and she lives in Israel. I mean, why do Israelis have such a hard-on for murdering Arabs? What is it exactly about them that they love massacring Arabs? They lie no matter what it takes in the biggest newspapers on earth to make sure that Arabs get murdered. Are you okay in the fucking head? Do you have a problem or something? That you have to kill Arabs, you just make up the wildest shit, mass rapes, weapons of mass destruction. What's next? Supermassive black hole? Fuck out of here. Really, it's just disgusting. Honestly, it's disgusting. Lies, lies, lies. This is why you should never trust Israelis, you never trust Zionists, and you never trust the mainstream media. Biggest liars on the planet.